Well, I've been looking at various bits and pieces, trying to find something different that would be of assistance, interest to all you good folks. One of the things that I came across was about boiler breakdowns, and I thought it was rather appropriate as we head towards the winter. And that the Landlord and Tenant Act applies, and how you are to make sure that your properties are habitable. And that includes the boiler. And it's a question that often comes up on blogs and things like that. The boiler's gone, how long is it reasonable to take to do the repair? Trying to get the contractor, and then if they've got to order parts and things like that. The law says it's got to be in a reasonable time, and if it's not in the reasonable time, then it isn't unreasonable for you to provide some alternative heating, i.e. fan heaters or the like. But one of the things that I picked up was, if the property has an electric shower, then obviously your tenants are able to get washed in warm water. If you ain't got an electric shower, if it's a combi and they've got no hot water at all, and it's going to take a few days, then the suggestion being put forward by the legal profession, judges, etc., is that you might need to look at alternative arrangements, i.e. putting your tenants into a bed and breakfast or a hotel if they're going to start and complain. Now, trying to minimise these kind of risks for you, I'm quite sure all of you will get your annual gas check done, because that's a legal requirement. Out of interest, how many people get their boiler serviced at the same time as the gas check? Some of you do. Not everybody does, from my experience. It is something that you ideally should look at. And what I hadn't realised was, whilst you need to be registered with GasSafe to carry out the gas safety check, that isn't the same qualification as being able to service a boiler. Apparently, there are two separate qualifications. So again, if you are using a new contractor to do your gas checks, your gas work, it's worth going on the GasSafe site and just checking them out.
Bruce, just a quick question. If the boiler's not working and they've got no hot water for 2 days or 3 days or a week, do you have to pay for the B&B or the hotel?
Yes.
Or do you just not actually take any rent off?
No.
Because you're
arguably they would still pay you the rent, but
if you just say, I'm not going to take, for this period of time, I'm not going to take any rent off you.
you can do what you like, Aaron. But if they take you to court, it then depends on how the judge views it. That's all I can say on that one. You know, I can try and provide you with a little bit of guidance to avoid the problems down the road. It's talk to your tenants. If they're kicking off and they're unhappy, then be aware of the wider implications. I would suggest that there is, Louise, on the basis that you have a contract to provide a habitable home for your tenants.
You wouldn't charge them the rent, but you don't have obligation to pay for their accommodation.
Well, if you've got away with it, then that's fine. All I'm going to say is my experience of the legal profession, with all due respect in the corner, but when it comes to judges, we have a set of guidelines, but individual judges tend to interpret those guidelines differently. You know, whether it be housing related, matrimonial related, whatever. So an awful lot depends on the judge that you get if it ends up in court. Another little thing that I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but under the Housing Act, You are responsible for ensuring that your tenants can have all the habitable rooms at 21 degrees centigrade, even if it's freezing out there. So, you know, bear that one in mind.
I think Bruce Bank just put in there that's the kind of benchmark standard, if you like. That's what it should be expected to be able to operate at.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is I've been around a long time, as many of you will know. I've been in a number of properties where, to be fair, the tenants would have struggled to get some of the rooms up to that kind of temperature. But what I can say is standards are improving, and from experience, you guys who come to meetings aren't the people who that's going to be a problem for. But, you know, I just thought it was an interesting little snippet to bear in mind. Something else that I came over, a lot of agents will charge fees for services that they do, repairs that they do. And there was a legal case recently where a garage arranged finance for one of their customers buying a car, but they didn't disclose to the buyer that the finance company gave them a commission for arranging that. Fairly standard sort of practice. And the judge ruled that they were sort of in error doing that and awarded damages to that car buyer. And somebody was making the example that this could apply to other industries as well. There are mortgage brokers, there are estate agents who will encourage buyers to go and use a particular mortgage advisor. Am I right there, Paul? And they will not declare that that mortgage advisor will pay the estate agent for that lead. But it also applies where they've arranged a gas check, an EPC, a repair. A lot of agents, I know, will inflate that price that they pass on to you. And I would suggest that potentially that could be classed as an illegal charge because they haven't declared that they are doing it. If the agent charges you the amount that the contractor charges them, plus a handling fee that they've declared, then that's fine. But it's where they just charge you an increased fee. So if you are in that boat that you get charges coming through, my suggestion to you would be ask for sight of the invoice. If your agent isn't willing to give you the invoice, just then start to raise concerns, and ultimately you can always go to whatever property redress scheme they are members of to lodge a complaint. So that's just doing it. Just a couple of reminders. Electric checks started in April 2020. They will start to expire in April 2025. If you have any that were done in the April, just kind of bear in mind it might be worth trying to get them done prior to April, because I can guarantee that come April, all the electrical contractors will be inundated with requests for people wanting to get the electric checks done because they need to have it for legal purposes. And it may well be the same as it was in 2020. Prices will start to go up because demand is there.
Why that specific date?
The certificate lasts for 5 years. So at the end of 5 years, you've got to get a second one.
Is it always on that date?
No, what I'm saying is they start to expire in April because that's when the scheme started. So it depends when you had your electric safety check done. It's worth just kind of having a look back and say, when, you know, when's it going to run out? The same with EPCs. You know, they only last 10 years. Have a look on your EPCs that you've got. When do they, or when are they going to expire? I can virtually guarantee that the current government will be looking to increase the minimum rating that landlords can have to rent a property out. So if you are anything less than a C, there is a great risk that you may well find that in the next few years the rules change and you can't rent the property out.
You get a Tyneside flat to a C.
Well, I've got the perfect answer for you, Steve. You go and talk to the gentleman up there at RT. Talk to Robbie, because he was telling me tonight that he's actually had an email, because he does the EPC reports, and there are changes coming. My suggestion to you would be that if you have any EPCs due to sort of need doing in the near future, have a chat with him before he goes home, because those, the standards that are current may well change in the very, very near future. And what you think will be acceptable may not be going forward in 2025. The other thing I would say is, if you are doing work like a Tyneside flat and you're perhaps putting insulated plaster boards on the walls, or you're insulating a property, then talk to the EPC assessor before the work starts so that they can come along and verify what you are actually doing with that work. Because I can guarantee you, if it's afterwards and they don't know what's behind the plasterboard that's lovely, nicely skimmed and all the rest of it, you aren't going to get any credit for any insulation. It's much better to do it in conjunction with. That would be my advice.
How would you know that you put that kind of insulated plasterboard on?
There's going to be, the assessors will do a picture, and so they will see. So, you know, you've got a half a wall that's been boarded, they will be able to see that that's an insulated plasterboard that's on the wall.
When it's skimmed?
No, before it's skimmed is what I'm saying. While they're putting them on, once they're up and skimmed, it's very difficult to tell. And that's where your problems come.
Bruce, could you not take photographs yourself when that's being done?
No, that isn't acceptable. However, if you talk to Robbie, he'll tell you about an app that you can buy, and provided you use that app to take a photograph of the work, that will be acceptable, certainly with him and with most assessors, because it actually date stamps and locates where the picture was taken. But you also need to have some other little bits and pieces like tape measures to show the depth of insulation and things that you've put in.
What happens if you've actually got a builder that does it for you and you've told him to put the materials in and he gives you nothing, so no proof, it's got to be ourselves to prove it?
Unless your builder's an EPC assessor,
Right, okay. So basically you've got to have an EPC assessor.
yeah, it's the EPC assessor who's going to do that report for you.
Okay, so there's no proof of purchasing it?
No.
The proper builder to do it, he signs it off?
He can sign any bits of paper he likes, but in practice, it's a bit like me saying to you, I owe you some money, I'll give you a bit of paper to say the check's in the post. How do you know it is?
Bruce, I think they accept stuff of certified like installation companies when they do it.
That's
Not
a,
general builders.
yeah, that's can be a different thing. I can't quantify or agree or disagree on that one, Mark. But the point I'm trying to get across is, if you're doing the work, then you need to make sure that it's verified. I've stuck that in as the end. We've had lots of comments on the renters' rights bill, whatever. If you are selling up, as many landlords are, my suggestion is write to your MP and tell him you've sold up. Because, believe it or not, MPs are saying you're not selling up, there isn't a mass exodus out of the market. Not quite sure how they work that one out when they're having to put everybody into temporary accommodation, but, you know, there you go. That's not part of the qualification of being an MP, I don't think.
The thing is with that one though, Bruce, as well, you know, if you go as an individual to an MP, personally I don't think you get anywhere. If you went as a collective, GB Landlords, and just said, we've just done a poll,
Yeah.
here's the name, email, if you want to verify it, how many said this?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll
That's not a
do.
big number.
Can I just sort of ask, how many of you are in the WhatsApp group or on the platform? Quite a few. I'll stick a post on the platform, and if you've been selling up because of, then, you know, just stick a comment on. If you're not on the platform, my advice to you would be think about joining, because it is quite useful. And you learn all sorts of bits and pieces.
Bruce, can I please just ask you one question which relates to WhatsApp group?
Uh-huh.
So if you review all the members on that group, there are lots and lots and lots of just telephone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
An awful lot of people don't do what you ask them to do, which is introduce themselves
Yeah.
and a name. But there's also at least 2 numbers on there that are North American telephone numbers. Now, that was why the other day I put on, I don't like clicking into something
No.
I'm not sure what it is. because
Where
you don't know who these people are and what
The
it's
thi-
doing joining a group in Britain.
where somebody tries to do marketing, as we've had 1 or 2, we do kick them off. There will be some overseas residents or people living overseas who perhaps have property in this country and they use it as
Yes,
an opportunity.
that's
But I will bear that one in mind, Rosemary.
There's an awful lot of scams going around at the moment as well.
Yeah.
I've actually just had one today to do with, did I want a job?
Ah,
And it was one of these employment scams
well,
on your, but where did they get my number from? You know, it could be
Aye.
because these people join different groups.
It-
different
yeah.
groups of
I
people,
mean, the only thing is,
and then
what I would
use
say,
those numbers they can see on
if
that.
you register with your name, then I might be wrong, but I don't think the number actually appears as well on the group. I think it's just the name.
I've just looked at it and it
Get
didn't
into
say
everybody's
all
telephone numbers.
the numbers.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do, Rosemary, maybe get Laura, somebody who's a bit younger than me and Bruce, to vet it
Aye.
and ask people